Welcome, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor. We're back with another episode of the Healing Call of Cancer. I've titled today's talk, Reset Your Happiness Meter. Now, of course, I'm always sparked by ideas from other people and other things going on in my life. So this past week, it seemed as if I stumbled across this video. It was actually a podcast on YouTube that was interviewing a fellow by the name of Rich Roll, was interviewing Radhanath Swami. Radhanath Swami. I think that's how you pronounce his name. My apologies if it's wrong. Well, this monk, first of all, he was my age. And he had the most beautiful expression just emanating from in behind. It was like it was coming out from in behind his eyes and in behind his face. There was this radiance of happiness. And I'm watching him and I'm listening to him and I'm looking at him and I'm going, wow, he's happy. And it wasn't just momentarily, but it was just part of his being, part of his state of being. And of course, as I'm listening to his words of wisdom and wanting to understand how he got from wherever he started to this, I'm going, well, I wonder if I'm that happy. Am I that happy? Well, I confess, I didn't think I was. And I'm going, well, that's interesting. So it's been top of mind all this week as I've been mulling over happiness. What is it? Is it a state of being? Is it just there, like air is there, like sun is there? What is it exactly? And of course, because I like it, I like happy, then in fact I love happy, then well, how does it show up? And why does it show up? And why doesn't it show up? So this brain of mine was kind of on overdrive this week as I'm really wanting to understand it more and more, because I looked at him and I thought, I want that. That's who I want to be as far as that state of being, that level of happiness, regardless of the circumstances around. It was interesting listening to questions about this man's life because he didn't start out happy like that. And he went through some pretty grueling challenges to get from the west side of Chicago to India, where he began the rigorous and lifelong process of studying Bhakti Yoga. Well, I looked up what is Bhakti Yoga because there are many, many different fields or threads of yoga. And Bhakti Yoga relates to unconditional love. And I'm going, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. So when I began to weigh in my own being where happiness fits or doesn't fit, or when it shows up or doesn't show up, I realized that throughout my life, I had set the bar pretty high in relation to, well, I can only be happy if. I can only be happy when. So I can only be happy if I have a partner in my life. I have the love of my family. If I have a nice car, a nice house. I'll only be happy when I'm successful, when I've reached this particular goal, when I've achieved this or done this or gone this place or whatever. And so I had this big ball of expectation around happy. So, of course, if we look at happiness from a state of being, from a place of happiness is, will you choose whether you participate or not? of course, with this high bar of expectation, a lot of my life was ruled by all the things that didn't make me happy. I had or felt disappointment. I felt guilt anytime I didn't achieve this or that. I felt some shame as part of that if I didn't feel I measured up to my own level of expectation. And there was anger and resentment along the way when I saw other people seemingly more happy than me or having more than I had. And of course, there was some fear as time marched on. Well, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to be that successful, that happy, that accomplished, that, whatever, whatever, whatever. And of course, when I had my huge reset going through cancer, I examined a lot of my life and realized that I had allowed a whole lot to pass me by, a whole lot of happiness that I could have grabbed hold of and experienced, but instead I deferred to my default, which at that time was anger, disappointment, shame, guilt, all of those negative feelings that I suspect contributed to the festering of dis-ease and then disease within me. So the body knows. The body knows if it's not in the state that is most natural for it, which is more of a state of happiness, I think, than it is a state of misery and despair. So what do we need to have happen? What is it that becomes important when we look at, well, how to get from here to here? If we're going to reset our happiness meter, how do we go about doing that? Just a second, I'm going to just shut my window. There's noise from outside. There. You can believe it. We had snow yesterday, and here it is April the 20th. Just dumped a whole ton of snow on us, and so the snow blowers are out doing their thing. So it makes me happy that the sun is shining and melting because I didn't want to drive on the ice and snow today. So I'm very grateful for that. All right, back to happy. So I think it's a pretty simple concept of allowance and receptivity, where when we allow, could be things that trigger our happiness, or it could just be allowing our state of mind to shift from whatever state it was in into happiness, no matter what's going on. So it's very much an allowing process that we're open to receive. And then, of course, we actually receive. We actually just bring it all in and allow that feeling to pervade our very essence, to just seep into every pore. And we go, oh, yes, I feel happy. So sometimes it's doing something about it to change our state, especially if we're feeling lower than a snake's belly. And it's hard. It feels, oh, it's kind of a slog. So maybe we do something like phone somebody to help pull us up out of this blue funk that we're in. Maybe we put on some jazzy music that we can dance around the living room to get us going, or bat a balloon around your place. Whatever it is, there's often something we can physically do to change our state, to go from, but where's the state? The state's in our minds, all right? And this was one of the most fascinating things that I gleaned from the Swami, was that it's about disciplining our minds. Now, the word discipline means to be a disciple of. So, for example, if I want to be a disciple of happiness, then I need to train my mind to default or reset to happiness rather than the opposite of that, rather than sadness or fear or anger or all those kinds of things. So it's an inner game, very much an inner game. And when I choose, because it's always a choice, right? When I choose to shift from one state to another, so if I'm going to shift to this lovely thread of happiness, then I need to pay attention to what things bring that on, what's running through my mind that brings it on, and then pay attention to that. Because the more I pay attention to those things, then the easier it is for me to switch, right? To just pull myself out of wherever I am that's not happy into that level of happiness. Well, physiologically, what happens then? Well, physiologically, you move from being filled with the stress-inducing chemicals that don't serve us, the toxins that can build up in our tissues and sabotage our immune system. We switch into this flood of endorphins and the feel-good hormones and chemicals that support the immune system and help us to go even farther, faster, more energized, whatever goal that we have in mind. So it's all an inside game. So one of the things that the monk recommends is that we spend time at consistent periods of time during the day, or even if it's just once a day, in going within and learning to still the mind, learning to focus the mind, whether it's to focus on a candle flame or focus on a happy thought or whatever works for you. And you might need to experiment a little bit, and then allow yourself to get centered, get strong in that inner part so that you can go out and do whatever it is you want to do through the day with a happy heart. So it starts that inner process. So, and in our busy modern life, how often do we take time to do that? Now, I confess, I learned how to meditate, an active form of meditation, when I was in my 20s. It worked so beautifully every time I did it. It just set my mind in such a lovely state. And I relished it and I loved it. And then I got kind of lackadaisical about it. I didn't do it consistently, except that every time I did do it, I got back that feeling again. So it's not as if it disappears. It's just that sometimes I would allow the busyness of life to just take over, and then I wonder why I was feeling kind of disgruntled or out of sorts with what was going on in my life. And so this has been a pattern for me for many, many years. And I know when I go within, then there's this peace that settles over me, this power that comes from inside me, and this level of delight and happiness and curiosity and peacefulness that's just there, just bam, that fast. But it's up to me to do it. And it's up to you to do it. It's up to you to decide, well, how important is this to you? Well, yeah, we can get by with a certain level of grayness, I guess I would call it, where we're not that happy, but we're not that sad, and we're just getting through life, But the insanity of that is that we rob ourselves of the richness that's right in front of us, that's just easy for the taking, if we would but do what we need to do to allow it, to receive it. And nothing will come through the door if the door is shut. So it's about opening the door and then saying, come on in, Welcome, welcome. So that's all it is when we open to that conscious mind, that universal mind, that quality that's there for all of us, and we're not separated from, except as an illusion. We think we are, but we're never separated from that. We are part of that. And so why not tap into it? Why not move yourself into that position on a regular basis? It doesn't need to take a long time. 5 minutes of recognizing the inner you, of acknowledging that there's a piece of you, a part of you that is sacred and happy and receptive and magnificent, regardless of what goes on in the world. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the world. It's everything to do with who you are at your core. So it's tapping into that and allowing that to emerge. So that's what I want to challenge you with this week. For those of you who have been struggling through cancer and you're wanting something better, something different on the other side, you've woken up to what your life has been like and you haven't liked it. You want something different. You're ready to shift and change. Resetting your happiness meter will make a big difference. It'll make a huge difference. And yet it's one small thing that you can do for yourself. It's small in the amount of time it takes and the amount of activity that it takes, but it's big, big, big in the benefits, the rewards that you get from doing that. So this week, find as many triggers as you can to keep that happiness button activated over and over and over, and get addicted to feeling happy. I mean, it's not a bad way to live life, is to, well, I'm pretty happy most of the time. So I think it might even be better than ice cream, although ice cream is a little hard to top. Anyway, take great care of you this week, my magnificent ones. Love yourself enough to reset your happiness meter. If you're finding benefit from my Healing Call of Cancer videos or my Tea with Sue videos, please subscribe to my channel. It would be an honor to have you as a subscriber, and feel free to share with those you love. Take good care until next week.